for the second day of our regional congress on organics and climate change. So this is Nirmala here for you today. I'm from Hasudala. I work in the zero waste initiatives, and we have my colleagues here, Minakshi, who will be monitoring the timing, and Archana will do the honors, and we have Sarla who will be facilitating Q&A. Please welcome. I hope you all had a wonderful experience yesterday. Okay, let me ask a different question today. How's Bangalore weather? Nice? How was the traffic? Oh, see, look at the expression. Yeah, we are still a developing city, as Soumya Reddy mentioned yesterday, our beloved former MLA. So we are still developing and we are developing forever. So, yes, it is. So today we have exciting sessions, insightful talks, and interactive discussions as we delve deeper in the crucial topics. So would anybody like to share the three key takeaways from yesterday? Would anybody like to talk about for a minute? No? Great. Manoj is saying hopeful. Anybody? Okay. Yeah, please, Anjur. Please go ahead. Great. Great. Thank you, Anjur. So, one of the learnings in the context of climate change, environmental justice calls for a just transition that supports workers and communities reliant on carbon intensive industries. As shared by Indumati, it should promote policies and that create green jobs and provide training for those affected by the shift to a low carbon economy. So, this was one of the key learnings. So, today we'll be focusing on critical issues such as food loss, food waste, and climate, decentralized and source level management of organics, landfills and methane, and the potential of anaerobic digestion in municipal solid waste management. Later, we will move into consultations on the regional strategy and action plan, followed by discussions on the Bangalore Declaration. We will conclude the day with a closing ceremony and a special cultural performance by the children from Bugri Library. So let's get started. So now we move on to the topic that affects us all, both locally and globally: food loss, food waste, and its direct impact on climate change. It's a critical issue that not only affects food security, but also has severe environmental and economic consequences. While an estimated 735 million people go hungry globally, food loss and food waste generate 8 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions and is a methane hotspot as per United Nations sources. So let's welcome our next panel moderator on stage, Mr. Manoj from Pelican Foundation, Cherthala, who will introduce the panelists and the session. So over to you, Mr. Manoj.
I will use this mic. It's on. Hello, check, check. Yeah. Wow. Good morning. I don't know whether all of you should come and stand here and look at this audience. You know why? The whole set of mutants inside a hall. Yeah? The entire mutants in Bangalore is here, I guess. So actually, I need to change. Yeah. So I am feeling like I'm standing in that X-Men, sorry, X-Human, that movie. How many of you watched that movie? How many? Yeah. In the light? Okay. I don't. How is it now? How is it now? Okay. I should be in the hot. Yeah, I should be in the hot spot. So looks like Froy is the Professor X. Yeah. Shibu, possibly Eric. And then where is Nalini Ji? Jean? All the mutants inside this. Otherwise, why should we? Like, all these 8 billion human beings, few of us thinking differently, taking all the pains, sacrificing our life, trying to do something for society. Now, have you thought about that? Sometimes the opportunity lost, in creating wealth, right? So I think that's why we are happy in this hall, because we are the same fox with same feathers flocking together, right? So I think it's a nice occasion. It's a great feeling. Thank you so much, Gaia, and all the network members for giving this opportunity. So I'm a little philosophical today morning because the subject matter what we are discussing is a little, complicated. Uh, we are stepping back one step and just relooking into the whole concept of waste management. So I would like to go through a sequence of, introducing the entire audience to this discussion because it's a perspective. So far we have been the entire day yesterday, and so far we have been discussing about what do you do with waste generated. But the moment we step back and talk about the communicating or discussing about the waste generation itself, it's actually completely at philosophical level, right? So I think probably it starts with, I'm going to give a little bit lengthy introduction. I hope you won't mind in that because I would like to go in a proper perspective. So human beings are of a very different nature. A few of us, the entire human beings, few of us can kill, right? They can kill. A few of us can hurt people physically. We can be abusive, and a lot of us can actually cannot even talk a bad word. So there's basically a hurting, you know, a hurting character in every human being. I think we all are here because we generally have that attitude of not hurting anything, possibly. We cannot do something which can hurt the environment and all the creatures knowingly. I think that is why we are all here. So, in that context, it's very important to contemplate this entire food waste generation. It's something like probably yesterday we were feeling bad when we saw that sugar packets, right? So we're talking a little bit about it. We are trying to change it. I was trying to open the window of the room because I didn't want to use the AC, right? And probably, we probably Gaia was struggling to get a non-AC hall which has the same facility. No, when we are discussing net zero in a air-conditioned hall, it has a lot of complications. So basically, this thought process happens from a basic genetic mutation, which is very rare. And that is why the next step when we talk about food waste generation, it's a huge challenge. We are talking about segregation, we are talking about composting at source. But the moment we start talking about food waste generation, that's a massive challenge because look at the food what we had in the last 2 days. Do we need to eat so much? When I'm asking this question, okay, do we need to have so many dishes? This is absolutely a very, very different platform. That is why I'm telling it is philosophical. Because as we all know, for every plate of a buffet food, an equivalent quantity of buffet food is wasted. We all know that. But then we have been influenced by the society. All of us, the mutated people, have been influenced to live this life. So imagine going back and talking. No, I'm talking about the panelists. The struggle what they're going to face. Going back and talking to the entire public who don't even aware, they're not even aware of composting or segregation. You're talking about food waste reduction. It's like, it's looking into the future. So basically, this discussion is entirely about the future. And so the entire discussion has to be taken as the end game. Probably in the last 20 years, we have matured. Personally, I was thinking the plastic waste was a problem. Plastic waste is recyclable. We have changed. We have understood plastic has to be reduced. From the composting, from the centralized composting, all those sequences has happened. So now we are coming and standing at a place where probably we are talking about the next end game, which is basically food waste reduction. And at that point, this is basically purely awareness. So we are actually shooting it ahead, shooting a target ahead. In this at this panel, we are shooting a target ahead so that the target will come and it's something like when you shoot, in a shooting competition, when a target is shot from another point, we shoot ahead. We cannot shoot on the target. We have to shoot ahead. So this panel has to be, contemplated in a manner which we are going to create another goal for the entire network to deal with. So in this context, I would like to invite the panel members who are going to discuss about this matter. And I would like to invite the panel members. Give me a second to open this WhatsApp. Yeah. Welcome, Shwetmala ji from WRI. Please come to the dais. I will introduce her eventually. Vishalakshi ji from, I'm sorry, the organization is missing here. Buffalo Bag. Yes, please welcome. And yeah, thank you so much. And Angus Ho from Hong Kong. And Setyari from Gita Pertiwi from Indonesia. Prithvi, yes, it's Prithvi? Prithvi from Indonesia. Thank you so much for joining. So, can we put that first? Oh, yeah. Can we put that first slide probably to give a small statistics, which already Nirmala ji has mentioned in her presentation, but I think it's a huge requirement to communicate this in a black and white format. So, this is the data. In 2022, 1.05 billion tons of food waste generated, amounting to 130 kilograms per capita, and 1/5 of all the food available for the consumers. AI generated data. Okay, so I did research on this. In 2024, it's 1.3 billion tons, 1/3 of the food waste. Just has 2 years. That's a huge change. We are talking about 25 to 30% change. That means in another for 3 to 4 years, we're going to talk about a 1:1. It's almost 100% change in the statistics, and that's going to be a huge change in the complete approach of waste management, carbon reduction, climate change, because this is something which we cannot handle currently. Now itself we are struggling with that. Imagine if we are going to enhance our food waste by almost 100% another 2 to 3 years, we are actually in a big mess. So, yeah, also to add to this point is the root cause of hunger. Almost 1 in 10 people, they get malnourished because of lack of availability of this food, which is getting wasted. And of course, responsible for 80% global warming. I don't know, have you thought about it? One truckload of apple from Kashmir reaching Bangalore, traveling 4,000 kilometers. Per each kilometer, every 5 kilometers, consuming 5 liters of diesel, 80 liters of diesel in this transit. It's almost 18 to 2.5. 100, 200 kgs of carbon footprint for every. I don't know, my math is right. But then that's a huge quantities of carbon footprint for every gram of food what we are eating. Forget about the carbon footprint of tractor plowing and the carbon footprint of farming itself. So basically, this awareness of carbon footprint of food itself. Forget about the emission, what it's going to happen in the landfill. Just reaching in our table. Imagine the food actually reached in our yesterday. The food which reached in our table is having a huge carbon footprint. So this awareness and in the financial loss. In this perspective, this entire engagement in this panel is going to discuss how do we engage. So can we go to the next slide? So in this whole, shouting of composting, aerobic, biogas, anaerobic, 24-hour composter, centralized, decentralized, you're going to go one step backward. Is this the right endpoint? I've been composting for the last 20 years. I've been, shouting at top of my voice for composting. But this is philosophical now. Should we even end up in this? Is it fair to end up in composting consumable food, which has been wasted purely because of our lifestyle? So the entire panel is going to discuss about that. Next slide, please. So this is what is the engagements. One, preventing food waste at the point of production itself, in the agriculture practices, in the supply chain. And third, good policies, regulations and practices to prevent food. How do we do mind change management? Can we regulate? Can we tell somebody not to waste food? Absolutely, this is a very, 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 very important question. So that's pretty critical because we are working in apartment complex and gated communities, and when we are actually going along with our workers, we are all actually hungry because most of this waste collection starts at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and we wouldn't have it. Both of us, like both me as well as my door-to-door collection team, couldn't have had our breakfast, and we are seeing edible food in the waste bin. Vadas, idlis, dosha, chapati. I actually was in most of the cases I was pretty close to pick it up and eat. So, and this is the point of discussion today. So the point is to waste or not to waste. It's very philosophical. To discuss about it, to start with, let me invite um, Vishala ji from Buffalo Back Collective. She'll be discussing about her experiences in the entire supply chain, starting from agriculture, production, supply chain. Uh, how do we reduce food waste in this entire transaction? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me to this because I could check off one achievement. I actually drove from Jayanagar to Domlur, which I wouldn't have done otherwise. I guess the motivation was all to be here, interact with you all. So my name is Vishala, and we call our collective the Buffalo Back Collective because that's one of our first initiatives. And it's called a collective because we are a group of 3 different organizations, all of them registered as not-for-profit, but one of the organizations, we don't really work as a not-for-profit. So we have a trading platform, which is called the Buffalo Back Consumers Federation. That's more an initiative of consumers of Bangalore. That's our oldest initiative, almost 15 years old, where a few of us who were really concerned about the kind of food that we get access to in Bangalore city came together and tried to put together a federation of consumers where we can work together, pool our resources, and look at getting ourselves good food. So the core of our work has been around what is popularly known as organic food. Of course, today there are different nomenclatures and regionally they're called in different names. But the idea is about food which is good for the planet, good for people, and good through the whole process. So that's the initiative, that's the core value that we keep till now, and we want to keep it forever. And that was our first initiative, so the name stayed on. Otherwise, we are also a pan-India organization called as PGS Organic Council. And PGS happens to be, the full form of PGS is Participatory Guarantee System. It happens to be a certification system where specially designed for small farmers and specially designed for local markets, very, very hyper-localized markets. And to basically to deal with consumers who do not have the time to explore where their food comes from, but still would like to see their food coming from a trusted source. So it's a small, I would say, a little bit of a social engineering work, and that's called PGS. That's a popular system across the globe. There are around 40 countries which have adopted PGS core values, because the values are what we all are going to talk about. I'm sure you all have been reiterating them yesterday about how planet and people are both equally important when we are talking about sustainability. So that's our mandate. And of course, we have another small trust in a local village. And that's the initiative that I'm going to present today. Because I live on the outskirts of Bangalore, close to the Bannerghatta National Park, which is called as the ecological sensitive zones. And I am not sure how many of us Bangaloreans know that there are many such ecologically sensitive pockets around Bangalore, because we still have a lot of forest lands. And especially when close to a national park where there is, the mandate is to protect keystone species and also to keep the elephant corridor. We have a very active elephant corridor just 40 kilometers from, maybe 45 kilometers from where we are sitting. And I live there. So one of the things that I have learned living there for the last 12 years, I live there, is that we have a lot of small and marginal farmers in peri-urban spaces and who have land, who have reasonable resources. Yes, we are stressed with water. We do have other issues, but this is probably not the forum to discuss agriculture core issues. But there are small and marginal farmers who are capable of growing great food. And considering Bangalore has a stable climate almost right through the year, it's a great place to grow food, high quality, nutritious food for the people of Bangalore. But for various reasons, for the way agriculture has dealt with the markets, the people and the farmers in the last 4 decades, especially after the Green Revolution, we have had different things coming up. For example, the place that I am in, most of the farmers have been introduced to sericulture. And the sericulture has its own issues. Of course, one of it is, if I were to mention something that I think all of us can relate to, is extensive use of weedicide. And so we are exploiting the natural, we are exploiting the soil by using weedicides in these localities. So one of the concerns was, I mean, how do we get farmers, small farmers in peri-urban villages to grow food, which is more needed for the urban population, and get fresh fruit, especially horticulture? So, because even in the larger narrative of agriculture, when we are talking about agriculture productions and supply chains, we know that fresh produce supply chains have to be robust enough to make sure the nutrition is preserved and they reach the consumers as soon as possible. I mean, today we have startups, we have tech tools designed to take care of all that. That way, we are a little primitive in our approach. Uh, let's say we are probably 10-15 years behind, but it's all about connecting people. So we call this initiative the Kaitota initiative. The next slide, please. Kaitota in Kannada actually means kitchen garden.
What language was that?
Yeah, Kai Tota is actually kitchen garden. Earlier, most women would actually take pride in maintaining their kitchen gardens because that provided the nutrition for their families. And that would have a variety of vegetables, greens, and herbs growing in the kitchen. Women would actually tend to it very, very carefully to make sure that they feed their families. And that was very important part. And again, keeping those seeds was again a practice in farming communities, which has been lost, especially in the village that I live in. I just returned from Udaipur with a tribal community where I still saw beautiful gardens. I wish I could have added that photograph, but I still saw every family having beautiful gardens, and it actually looked as if some of these gourds were growing on trees because they had them growing everywhere. But in many places in Bangalore, around Bangalore, where things are changing, people are finding job opportunities in Bangalore, land holdings are smaller. Yeah. So things have been changing. So one of the reasons why we wanted to bring back the vegetables was actually more to bring sustenance and nutritional security in the farming family. And incidentally, we also deal with supply chain of fresh produce through this initiative. So I will not go through these statistics because I think more or less it's repetitive of the kind of wastage that fresh produce sees and the carbon footprint sees. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So again, like I said, we are in the ecologically sensitive zone of the Bannerghatta National Park, and it's 36 kilometer. It is, we call it, this is typically called as a community supported agriculture initiative. Again, this is something old. This is across the globe, you see it in different formats. And what we had to do was contextualize it to make it relevant and workable for small farmers. The next slide, please. So what we have done is we work with self-help group, the women groups, because again, there are many social issues associated with agriculture. It is not easy for women to get access to land. Their own families may not give them the land that they want to do something on an enterprise model. So what we have done is we work closely with the forest department and the local panchayats. We get the women self-help groups, or what are called as the gram level panchayat federations, access to community land and also access to some bit of water resource from the community bore wells. And using this, they develop an enterprise completely based on vegetable production. So we follow permaculture principles. We follow an intensive garden. Right? So today, if you come and visit one of our kaitotas, at any point in time, we will have around 40 to 50 varieties of vegetables growing, seasonal vegetables growing. And we have certain rules that we follow, very strict rules, community rules that we follow. So all inputs are locally generated. We do not get any inputs from outside. Of course, we are dependent on seeds. We do not have the traditional wisdom of seed keeping. So we still buy seeds from other traditional farmers who keep seeds. We can go to the next slide. So these are some of the pictures. So what happens is an acre of land is divided into around 30 to 35 plots, depending on the size. And every 1,200 square feet is subscribed by a family or by an institution. In fact, we have schools subscribed for this. We have certain cafes who have subscribed for this. And within that 1,200 square feet, we grow vegetables that they would like to eat. And every week, what you see on the left side are photos of the harvest from each of this. We number the plots as C4, C1, B1, all that. And every week, whatever is grown, and we grow as per their needs. We have when they subscribe for a plot, we talk to them, we discuss on what is it that they would like to eat and what is it that their family doesn't eat, because we do not want them wasting food. So it is discussed, planned along with them, and once the plan is set for a whole year, we come back and we plan our sowing, we do our sowing calendar and make sure that the sowing is done so that they get weekly fresh produce. And here we definitely have, we add on a few other things. We have one learning session every month where consumers get to understand more about organic agriculture, more about what we are doing, why we are doing. And the women who work also get to learn, meet more people, interact, and there's a lot of learning happens. We do that once a month. And what we also do is, in spite of all this, we still have a lot of excess to deal with. That's what we realize. In fact, there are certain weeks during season, the monsoon, we have close to around 60 to 70 kgs from 1 acre excess per week, sometimes up to 100 kgs. And so what we have done is we have tied up with the local Anganwadis and any local community kitchen that cooks food. So all these vegetables go there. And the women who grow them also take it for their families. So this way, we are dealing with agriculture, we are dealing with waste, preventing waste at source, and also the supply chain issues that generally come up with fresh produce. And people get fresh vegetables on a weekly basis. Yeah, next slide. Yeah. Yes. So this is, I've been trying, I went pretty fast to finish it on time, but I think roughly I have conveyed what we are trying to do to prevent waste on source and in the supply chain. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Yeah, this is working. Yeah. Thank you. This is fantastic, Vishala ji. This is possibly the beginning of the end what we are envisaging. So I think the conclusion is basically having captive customers. So and then use technology possibly, because yesterday I had a friend named Suvish who was talking about forward linking of compost to possible the farmers. Now here looks like there is a huge possibility of forward linking appropriate produce to the customers through appropriate tech services using AI or possibly even IT technologies. So that actually takes us to the next session. Would like to invite Angus from Hong Kong to share his experiences with how they prevented waste loss by community communication, as well as a few things which can lead to some sort of a regulatory interference, possibly. Over to you. Your 8 minutes starts now. I forgot to.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gaia, to invite me for this panel. First of all, how many of you guys have been in Hong Kong? Can you? Okay, quite a few. I'm going to introduce about how is the journey of Hong Kong over 10 years. From the peoples don't even know what is the food waste. They cannot even pronounce in Cantonese the food waste. And until now, everyone's very concerned about the food waste and talking about the segregation in their business or in their home. So actually, Hong Kong is only a very small city. It's like 1,000 kilometers. And over 60% of them are mountain. So the city size is the very, maybe like 400 kilometers, but we have 7.5 million population. So there's a lot of food waste and also other waste generate. Next please. So I'm going to talking about the food waste problem and the journey, and then how to involve the government, and then finally the waste separation, food waste separation now. Next please. Next. So same as many other places, country and area, and I think the food waste composed of 30 to 40% of the municipal solid waste. In Hong Kong is also the same. We have about 30% of our municipal solid waste is from food waste is generated from the household or from the restaurant. And 10 years before, like what I say is no anyone can understand what is it about, and all of them just go to the landfill. Until right now, all of the food waste, most of the food waste still go to the landfill. But it is getting better and better. I will tell you next. So previous one, please. Yeah. So we try lots over 10 years, especially 10 years before. We try to raise the awareness of the public, and especially we find the reduction is the key. Next. So next. And next. So we know the food waste come from two sections. One is pre-consumer, which is kitchen, and another one is post-consumer. In Hong Kong, if some of them been to Hong Kong, they have a saying, Hong Kong is the paradise of the food. I don't know whether you agree or not, but we have so many different cuisine. So different kind of restaurant, small store, as well as hotel, buffet as well. So we have a lot of food waste generated. So we want to know how we can reduce the food waste from the pre-consumer, from the kitchen, and also from the post-consumer, which is while the post-consumer, we want to more focus in our organization. So we did a lot of promotion before. For example, we go to the different universities, and then we work with the university and the canteens and also their administration. And then we do a lot of promotion. We ask them to order less portion, and then we even give them incentive. And we also to work with the university and make some, for example, you can see the exhibition. And then we also have ambassador go to the canteen and then to tell the students to finish their food in their lunch, something. So we also even make a, for example, a small cooking competition in the campus, and to let the students know the food waste problem is so serious, so that we try to raise their awareness. And then we also, apart from the campus, no matter university or secondary school, previous, we also make a contest about the cooking contest in the community. We make a different area, different community to make this kind of competition. And then we also make a prize giving. We also make use of the media and social media. And we also get some artists to in the cooking TV, so that they can talking about how to make use of the leftover to make a dish. Next, please. So this is something from leftover originally, but you can see it is very delicious. It is very presentable, and we try to make use of this and then make a cookbook recipe for the community to think about those they think is waste. Actually, they can be a raw material for another dish. Next. So we also work with the restaurant chain, just like what I say, there's a lot of restaurant in Hong Kong. So we make a safe food day, and then we work with the restaurant, and then we work with the shopping mall, a lot of shopping mall in Hong Kong, so that you can see from the poster, there's a lot of small logo. Those are the restaurant chains. We engage with them so that they can work with us to encourage the people to ask the smaller portion. And so that we don't want to have a post-consumer waste. They can order at source smaller, so they don't order too many. And it is also very welcome by the restaurant because they can save their cost from the food cost. Next, please. So we go to the restaurant, and then we give them briefing about the food waste, about how to implement less food waste to the customer. We also make a lot of noise, like you can see in the media, we do a lot of press conference, that kind of things to promote to less food waste in restaurant. Next, please. So also at the end, we also have some unavoidable food waste. We also go to the community to ask them to use the bokashi because Hong Kong do not have farmlands. Mostly is the city, so that we ask them to use the bokashi, small one in their household, and then we bring them to the some like the rooftop garden, that kind of things. Next. So this is the produce, and then we just let you know, we try to use different areas to introduce the food waste problem, and then to let the community to join us, no matter it is school, no matter it's community, from the housewife, from the restaurant. So we make people to understand the food waste problem. Next. So after that, we finally to engage the government to run a Foodwise Hong Kong campaign, and I was one of the committee member as well. Next. So they make a charter to make larger scale to the eateries, to the restaurant, and then they just to try their best to reduce the food waste, or even in the future to segregate their food waste for the organic treatment plants. Next. So the people can go to the website and then to find where is the nearby eatery, and some of the eatery even give them some small gift if they finish their food, etc. So this is some kind of campaign. We also give the logo to acknowledge the restaurant. They try their best to reduce the food waste. So also, we also collect the food from the wet market and sharing to the elderly. So we starting getting more and more, you can see, from not only from the wet markets, but also from the supermarket as well. And we getting more and more different NGOs to working on this. But 10 years before, no one will do this. But now it's getting more and more. So finally, we after do all the journey, and then we engage the government, and then the government also very engaged to the waste separation. Next. So that they build up the first anaerobic digester, which is 200 tons. Firstly, they only entertain the F&B, the restaurant industrial sector. And then after we push them, they also engage to the household. Next. So this is the food waste collection from the restaurant. And then after that, we also push them to have a more long-term policy for the food waste segregation. Next. So nowadays, when you go to Hong Kong, you will see so many this kind of smart machine. They can let the people to the household. They can bring the food waste downstairs, and then they can put the food waste over there, and then they will eventually bring it to the organic treatment plant, which is anaerobic digester in Hong Kong. So the conclusion is we think the food waste reduction is very important. We want to use the bottom-up approach, and then to urge the residents to do the collection. But in the future, we still need to push the government to have a mandatory policy for the food waste donation and food waste segregation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angus. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. So it looks like, again, possibly going back another 20 years when we started composting, looking like from a starting point, with small initiatives across the globe in this matter actually picking up steam and traction. And also the forward linkage of this entire exercise to the government regulations. Looks like a very long journey for us to look into this food waste reduction, and plenty of possible technology innovations like freezers, chillers. I think things are happening. Even in my state, Kerala, a few organizations are working on this matter. So that take us to the next speaker, Shwetmala Kashyap. Yeah, you're here, sir. So basically, she's going to talk about the quantification and qualification of food waste generation itself, so that there can be some points to ponder, and as well as possible mind change management. Over to you.
Thank you, Manoj. Hello.
Yeah, it's on. I think.
Hello. Yeah. So I'm Dr. Shwetmala. So I work with WRI India, and we are working towards the food waste, basically towards the changing the behavior. So as already Vishal and then Mr. Angus has shared that how Hong Kong is approaching. So in India also we have an ongoing project in Indore and Pune city where we are trying to see that if somehow we can reduce the food waste at the generation level. So I'm here to discuss about that. Next slide. So first thing, when we talk about the food waste, there are two terms which we generally use: food loss and food waste. So what is food loss and what is food waste? There is a difference in it. We need to define that. First is like food loss is something before reaching to the consumer. We call it as a, like, from generation at the farm to the reaching to the consumer, we call it as a food loss. And from reaching to the consumer, when it reaches to the disposal site, we call it as a food waste. So this is a major difference between the food loss and food waste. And this is very confusing also. Many of like my friends also like, what, how will you define this? Because when we are seeing something as a problem, we need to define the scope first. So this we need to define what is food loss and food waste. And I'm sure all of you are aware like food waste, which we see in our daily life. Next slide. And this is a global problem. We all know that we have a SDG goal 12.3. India is also trying to approach that. All countries, we all supposed to reduce it, the food waste generation. Next slide. So how it is impacting us? If we see the global impact and if we see the India impact, there is food waste. This is like a standard data we all see from UNEP 2024 data that 78.2 million tons is food waste is generated from India. This is a loss in economy. There is certain value which is, we all know that it's a statistic, we all know. And parallelly it is affecting the environment. If it reaches to the composting or it reaches to the landfill site, there is a impact to the environment. Next slide. Next slide. So, if we see the food waste, there are three major sources. First is consumers, horeca, and retailers. And if we see, consumer as the major contributor in the food waste, it around global statistic also it shows 61% is contributed by the consumers. Consumers means household. Second comes the horeca, and third is retailers. So where India stands, if we see the UNIP report also, they just quote the 7 studies which was done across the India. And all the studies which was done across the India, they vary in method. So we have the lack of reliable estimates on food waste. And we don't have any much estimate for the horeca. Even if you search any Google or public domain data, you won't get any data for the horeca. It is very difficult to get. So there is a very limited information or database or the measurements are available for horeca as well as for the retailer. And for consumers also, we have 7 studies which I discussed. So it is very difficult to predict how much is generated across the India. Next slide. So these are the some of the initiative where WRI India is working from quite some time on this particular area, and they have come up with, this is a working paper which we published it, and it says that it was a kind of systematic literature review, and we come up with a kind of result. It says that most of the studies which was conducted in India, it is more focused on food bank or on the processing or the solution side. So nobody discusses like there is a very limited study about the reduction at the source level, which is very much required also in the current system. And the fragmented nature of action is there, and lack of collaborative actions. So if we see this food waste problem, it requires the lots of collaborative action. It cannot be solved by one person, one organization. It requires a lots of collaboration and the effort which we all can do jointly together to solve this problem. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So if we see the approach of solving this problem, we need to target, we need to measure, and we need to take the actions. Next slide. So this is a kind of food recovery hierarchy. This table, if you see, it starts from maximum preferred way to the most preferred way to the limited preferred. So what it means, we all know that we all see that every day we see lots of generation of waste. Can we reduce that waste at the source level? So that we is the most preferred way. And as we move from the source reduction to the towards the landfill incineration side, it is a list preferred. And there is a difference in the impact in terms of impact to the environment, economy, society, aesthetic, and health issues. So we are most of the like when we are the study which we are conducting at the Indore and Pune, we are trying to emphasize that how can we reduce at the source level. If we can reduce at the source level, it will solve most of our problem. Because when waste reaches to the treatment side, still is a problem because we are our in India has is a growing population. We have a huge population to deal with. So the quantity of waste which is generated every day, if all reaches to the treatment side, it will be really difficult to treat that waste. Like whatever method we use, it will be really difficult. And even if it reaches to the landfill side, it will affect the environment. So best way is to can we reduce at the source level? Can people the kind of waste they are throwing, can they reduce at the source level? Will reduce our problem. Next slide. So this is one of the initiative which WRI India takes. We have a Friends of Champions group, which is like a kind of collaborative approach where different organizations are with us. We are working together to see that how can we solve our problem. Is there some way where we can take the effort jointly to change the behavior? Is there some way we can save generation of the waste? Is there some way we can treat it well if it is generated? So with this, I will end my slide. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. So, looks like the waste reduction is going to be one of the major contributor to the waste management system itself. So we have been talking about composting, blah 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 stuff. Now, actually, this is going to be a big disruptive engagement. So we are talking about no waste generated. So most of us will go out of job. So with that, probably to take this to the next discussion, the experiences of sharing at Indonesia, I would like to welcome Setyari from Gita Pertiwi.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Ari. I am from Gita Pertiwi. Gita Pertiwi is located in Surakarta. It is one of NGO in Indonesia. Gita Pertiwi is the member of Gaya and then Pesticide Action Network Asia Pacific and Aliansi Zero Waste Indonesia. Gita Pertiwi works on focus on environmental issues and its impact for vulnerable groups, mainly women, youth, children, and people with low income. We are working on rural, peri-urban, and urban areas to develop sustainable food systems and sustainable lifestyle by implementing regenerative agriculture and then preventing food waste with food sharing and manage the food waste. Move to the challenge. The big challenge in Indonesia is food loss and waste in Indonesia. The waste in Indonesia is dominated by organic waste, mainly food waste, and then the food loss is also the biggest challenge in Indonesia. The dominant food loss is rice, vegetables, and fruits. Move to the next slide. Okay, this is the challenge in Surakarta. Gita Pertiwi has conducted two research about food waste in household. The first is in 2018, and the second one is 2021. There is the increasing in food waste in Surakarta. It is equal with 6.6 per capita per year. And then the last research is about the management of excess food in hotels, restaurant, and catering in Surakarta. Yeah, we have three models of food sharing. The first is storefronts, and then direct food sharing, and the last one is cheap redemption. The storefronts food sharing for limited area and what is it, small quantity of excess food. It comes from donor for individual donor and then food producer. Uh, Now there is 12 storefronts food sharing in Surakarta and Sukoharjo Regency. The storefronts is located in the strategic place such as market, traditional market, and then worship place and residential area. And then the beneficiaries is from people around the storefronts, such as travelers, and then pedicab driver, also waste picker, and then move to the direct food sharing, the second model. Okay, maybe uh, next slide. Yeah, I have make a table for the comparison for the three models. The direct food sharing, it is different from procurement donation. The direct food sharing is when we have excess food in the large quantity from hotel, restaurant, and maybe individual donor, we have to distribute the excess food immediately. So we choose the second model, direct food sharing. And then the beneficiaries is coordinated and vulnerable group. For example, people with mental disorder, and then orphan, waste picker, and children with bad nutrition. And then the last model is cheap redemption. This is developed for building empathy between the consumer and then the producer. So we help farmers in peri-urban and rural area when they cannot sell their product maybe with substandard quality. So we meet the producer and then the product and with the consumer in the suburban area. So people in suburban area can buy the product, vegetables, fruit with cheap price. Next, this is the standard operating procedure of food sharing, because we face challenge when hotel has their own SOP for sharing their excess food. They prohibit the people to bring the food, bring the excess food. So we make this SOP. We arrange this SOP involved with local government, and then the hotel, restaurant, and catering, and community that do food sharing. Next, the last one is we involve multi-stakeholder from the very beginning. The first is the research, and then we do workshop to spread the information, the result of research. And the third is establishing a community food sharing. youth community and women in Surakarta is interest to do like a social for people, and we make a meeting to facilitating them, and we commit to make a community. The name is Care Food, and the the next step is selecting the beneficiaries. We choose vulnerable group, and the last one is we do distributing excess food without generate new waste. So we make a collaboration from the orphanage or safe house to collect the excess food or food donation from the hotel, and then they bring their vehicle and their storage, and then drive to their office. Before I close my presentation, I would like to inform you that we are going to launch a case study on this with Daya in the coming months. You can reach to me if you have any question or want to make replicate this model food sharing in your city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank all the panel members for keeping the time and wonderful, very precise presentations on the task. I also would like to, before I go to the question session, I have time for a couple of questions.
Yeah, let's take 2 questions.
So
because
before
we've
that, a
already
couple
done
of perspectives to discuss. Just 2 perspectives on motion. First is basically less food waste, less farming, less forest, less deforestation. That is one perspective. The other side of the perspective is such an ego built up society who will not even take second-hand clothes, right? We are talking about second-hand food. So it's going to be a huge mind change management, a huge spiritual philosophical communication. I think the entire team who is sitting here has to gear up for it. Because first of all, we have to practice that, right? We should be ready to eat a second-hand food. Otherwise, practice what you preach. So unless we get into that habit, I think this is something which we started 20 years in terms of composting. We started composting at home. So it's time now to ensure that not even a gram of food is wasted from our engagements to start with, and then probably only then we can talk about this into the society. With this, I would like to open the forum for questions.
A wonderful session, because I think all of us here, it breaks our heart at how much food is wasted, especially if you had a mother like mine who taught you can't get up from the table till every grain of rice. I've written a poem about that, which I will read. But what I wanted to say, what really breaks my heart, is to see a lot of people cooking extra food and feeling it's okay, it's getting composted. So in that, I think there was a hierarchy put there. Why compost food if it can be eaten? I think that's something we all need to take back. So what can we do to cook less? If you have leftovers, put them in your fridge. My mother was an expert at converting it into new avatar. Next day, father could not recognize those cutlets are that same thing which he grumbled about yesterday. So I try to encourage these kind of recipes through our volunteer group, which is Beautiful Bharat.org. Every month we have, at the beginning of the month, a recipe which people send. So one is what can be eaten should not get into compost. It should get to another stomach, human, animal, or I love that food hierarchy. I can't recall who put it up. The second is a lot of things which people put in their compost, which actually can be eaten. I discovered this during COVID. Watermelon, all of you eat watermelon. The white part we all put in our bins, right? I learned during COVID it is extremely nutritious. So all of you are rice eaters. Soak 1 cup of rice at night. In the morning, grind it with the white part of watermelon, and you can make instant dosa or pancake. Once I learned this, I make dosa, I make pickle. There are lots of things, and we have recipes. Over lunch, please tell me your recipes made from peel, seeds, all of these. So we put less into our compost if it can be eaten, because that's carbon footprint saved. I'm going to read the poem, it's only a minute. My mother said, so I think Dr. Shweta talked of behavior change. Angus talked of avoidable food waste. So my mother knew it all way back then. Ma, please, I hope you're listening from above. It says, "Don't waste your food" was my mother's daily chant. Why did you serve it if finish it you can't? No tantrum, no mercy. Now don't make a scene. You don't leave the table till your plate is perfectly clean. Every last grain of rice you must eat off your plate. If it's on the table, it's good. So learn to like the taste. All the dishes I've cooked with love and with care, just for your nutrition, you'd waste that, not fair. Wastage is costly, even if afford it we can. Think of starving millions who struggle, even if afford it we could. Think of starving millions who struggle without food. But ma, that's real cruel to force us to eat. Our friends have no restrictions, they're choosy yet they feast. Too bad I'm your mother, and these are my rules. I'll groom you to be responsible, not wasteful, spoiled fools. If you eat at my table, my rules you must follow. Serve as much as you like, but every mouthful do swallow. Come back if you want more, so don't overserve. Yes, a clean plate is possible, no wastage, let's preserve. Oh, and my rule number 2, don't make a fuss and say pass. Have a mouthful, please. It's just bitter gourd, not grass. You must taste every item, so take knowing you will eat. Simple rules, you leave the table, with your serving you complete. Oh, strict mother of mine, to understand then I wasn't able, but thank you abundantly for seeding's habits sustainable. All of your children, we relish our food. You taught us no food waste, a value so good. We've passed on the flavors to our next gen to taste, all happy to be ambassadors for zero food waste.
Wonderful. Please give a big hand. Thank you so much. I would really request Gaia to take this as a theme song for this session. Somebody can put some music into this. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you, Odette.
one more question, possibly, I guess.
So we can take one more question.
Yeah.
I have a reflection. Hello, my name is Hạnh, and I'm with the Vietnam Zero Waste Alliance and Green Youth Collective. So the last 10 years, we live in the region, which is greatly affected by climate change. So mostly, it's not an ideal condition anymore for the farmers to farm. So I have the reflection and question maybe to the kitchen garden presenter. So you said something during your presentation that you grow what the subscribed people want to eat. But it's actually not the case in my region because, what we learned at the beginning of this journey is that what the consumer want to eat, it actually just perfectly fit to what the farmers can produce and bring to the market. But that actually lost a lot of opportunities for us to explore and go back to one of the first underutilized crops that actually good for the soil management and good for the land restoration and fit to the indigenous recipe. So is there anything that we can, do to promote more of these crops, like multi-purpose cropping plants, and then, generate the incomes for the farmers from them? So is there any also like experience among the panelists? I would love to learn from you. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I had solutions. I think we still are dealing with a lot of problems. I think one of the biggest challenges, honestly, we are facing is good quality seeds of native indigenous produce. One of the advantages that we have, because you also mentioned climate change and the specific vulnerability that your place has, the advantage we have where we are currently working with, so I wouldn't call it a template which is replicable everywhere. The advantage we have is that the climate, like I said, close to Bangalore is more or less stable. So the seasonal variations, like you would see in many places where there is extreme heat or extreme cold, is not something that we face here. So that's an advantage, that's an opportunity we have, which we are leveraging very well in this model. But the biggest challenge we have are definitely seeds. Because when we talk about native food, when we talk about so many things that we are connecting to our cultures and our food habits and seasonal food, we have lost the seeds. And for the last 1 year, our biggest struggle has actually been to get good quality seeds, which could also be climate change. Because when germination levels are dropping, we know that there could be multiple factors. Of course, the soil health and climate change, they all go hand in hand. So like I said, it's not it is definitely a scalable model, but of course there are certain conditions that need to be there. and certain tweaks for it to be adapted in different places where the seasons are stuck and then there's going to be only limited season, but definitely a scalable model and definitely doable to prevent a lot of food wastage.
Thank you so much. I think we are concluding. It's going to be a very disruptive engagement, I think. And thanks to the audience for this engagement. So before concluding, what I'd like to put one recommendation to Gaia is this has to be taken up as one major vertical, pretty as close to the waste management, so that most of us will go out of job. That's okay, but still I think it's a noble cause. Also, one point of discussion which I didn't take it up in this action because we were generally having a spirit of reduction. The next step is basically the best solution is animal husbandry. For example, Kerala is having around 10,000 pig farmers consuming over 500 kgs of waste per big farm. So there's a huge solution forward like that, but that we will take in the next session. Thank you so much, Gaia, all the networking members and all the panel members for this opportunity. Thank you.
So it's time for token of appreciation and a group photo. So I request Rachana to do the honors to our esteemed panelists. So let's have a group photo, please. Yeah, you can. Thank you very much. Thank you all.